Hi there folks, and welcome back to Getting Started with Laravel 4. In the previous video we created a CRUD resource post controller for our admin panel. In this lesson we're going to add authentication to our admin panel. Like we saw before, if we want to add authentication we need to open up routes.php. Now Laravel has two types of authentication and I'll show you how they both work. Well, the easiest way to add authentication to your website is by just specifying a before filter to your route group. So here we'll add an item with a key of before and the value will be basic.auth. Now this authentication filter has actually already been defined. You can find it in filters.php. If you scroll down just a touch, and here it is. You see the filter is called auth basic and it returns a Laravel auth basic method. Well, as you probably noticed, I foolishly called a filter called basic auth instead of auth.basic. So we need to update this name here. Now let's see that to work in the browser, shall we? Now when I reload the page, I get your basic HTTP authentication, much like you would normally set up in your htaccess file. Now the difference is that this actually leverages Eloquent. I can type in a username and password combination that's actually inside of the database, and Laravel will check for that. I'll show you. We have a user called tschiller@yahoo.com. His password is tuts+, and when I try and log in using this credentials, there you go, that works. Well, to be quite honest, this is not my favorite kind of authentication. Let's just try and implement something else. And to do so, we need to go back to our routes file and call another authentication filter. Now this one has been predefined by Laravel as well, and it's called auth. Well, we already reviewed this filter in a previous lesson. It's the filter that checks if you're a guest, and then if you're a guest, it returns you to a login URL. Well, let's just make sure to update this URL like so. Of course, at the moment that will throw an error because we haven't got a route set up yet, but let's check it anyway. Let's go back to the browser, throw away our cookies so we're not logged in anymore, and reload this page. And sure enough, we are being redirected to admin/login. Now we can set up our login form here, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, let's set up our route first. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to duplicate this entire route group. Now we do want to prefix our login controller with admin as well, and that's the reason I copied this group. Well, we don't want an auth filter, of course, because we're going to use this controller to log in and log out. Okay, now we can get rid of this route and create a couple of other routes. The first one will be a route get method. So that will listen to a get request. Well, the URL we're going to listen to is login, and we're going to name this route admin.login. Also, we're going to specify which controller it should use. Well, I think it should use an admin auth controller, and we'll just create that in a minute, and then maybe the get login method. Okay, now what will this form post to? Let's create that route as well. It will be a post route, login, and it will be called admin login.posts, and it will use the auth controller again, but then the post login method. Well, cool, that's easy enough. Now let's create a logout route as well. That will be a get route. It will listen to the logout URL. It will be called admin.logout, and it will use the auth controller get logout method. Okay, so that's our routes right there. Let's open up the controller's admin folder and create a new class.